Hello, my name is Christine, and thank you, Father Noel, very much for asking me to share my Christian testimony. Well, let's see, growing up, I was not brought up Christian. Not that my parents were not Christian. My mother was Catholic, and my father was Lutheran. But for me, I was not even baptized. And I do remember, though, my father's mother, my grandmother, she took me to a Lutheran church, and I found it very calming and peaceful. And I knew it was special. It felt special. And then from then on, I felt like a little girl that, holding her Bible and just always wanted to go to church. But unfortunately, both my parents, they were very young. They were 16 years old when they had me. And my mother, she stopped going to church, and I'm not even sure if my father went to church. But I do know that both of them did believe in God. But I, um, I just did not go to church until later on. Oh, I would say my early 20s. I decided I would go to church myself. And so I went to a Protestant church, Presbyterian, and I knew that I was just seeking. I knew that there had to be something, well, you know, loving and more powerful, than I am, of course. And um, so I would just search, and I went to many, many different Protestant churches. But in the meantime, I was a lost soul, and I did a lot of harmful things to myself and harmful things to others, and I ended up being an alcoholic. I would say, well, actually, starting at 14 years old, I, was smoking pot, and my parents had divorced when I was very young, uh, 5 years old. I have one brother, and I am a year and 9 days older than him. And so, since they divorced very early, having the absence of a father, it was really, hard times. And my mother actually, she ended up being, well, go-go girl, or really like an exotic dancer. And so that was really, really hard on us, my brother and I, because we had to have a lot of babysitters. And then my mother would be gone at night. She would be at these bars, lounges, trying to, make money to feed us, actually. Um, my father, he was around, but he just didn't give us, any support, financial support. And then, let's see, but just no mentioning of church. And that time, I didn't really think much of church after the time, going with my grandmother to the Lutheran church. And I do remember, though, my brother, he was given a Bible, and that really interests me, when he was young. So I was really like a really lost soul. And then, my mother had married a couple more times, and, um, I was just kind of out there, just doing things that I shouldn't have been doing. And I ended up drinking, and I knew at 18 years old that I had a problem with alcohol, after drinking like a bottle of gin, and very sick. And but I was just trying to numb all of these upbringing, just neglect. Well, you know, I don't want to say neglect, but, not having a family, a real mother and father together. And so I'm just searching. I'm, just, too many boyfriends and just getting into trouble and not really going anywhere with my life from 18 years old and uh, living with guys and then I actually even quit school in the middle of 12th grade. And in America, the 12th grade would be the last year of high school. But I quit and just continued, to not really, um, you know, properly take care of myself and, just be with people, I shouldn't have been with. And but it came a time that I did meet this Catholic man, and he found out that I was not baptized, and he said, "Well, you're a heathen." And I said, "Well, what is a heathen?" And he said, "Well, you're a lost soul because you're not baptized." And actually, I had been going to church at this time. Um, and so I said, "Well, for sure, I'm going to go get baptized." And so I was 26 years old and I did get baptized. And from then on, things changed in my life. I quit being promiscuous in my life. Um, and stopped doing, harmful things that were, considered mortal sins. And a few years later, I got sober. I went to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I've been sober 30 years. Well, almost 31 years this month. No more drinking, and I know it's from my baptism. All my sins being cleansed, and also, very shortly after I was baptized, I had a dream that I literally came out of my body and I walked on water with Jesus. And I say that because I know that it was very significant from Jesus, him for this to happen in my life, because um, that he knew that I was a type of person that I needed to really, hold his hand and rely on him during storms. So that was the first indication, that, he was with me. He was for sure with me after this baptism. Um, I ended up, I have moved quite a few times in my life. At present, I've moved 37 times. I've been to uh, 27 different countries, maybe even a little more, and I have traveled to about 47 countries or states in the United States. So I have moved, and some of those moves were, to run away from things, but most of it was, for journeys and with my present husband. Um, but let's see. So when I was baptized, I was in Florida, and I had met a girl. We were working on yachts, and so I met a friend, and she lived in Alabama, which is right above Florida. And I decided I was going to move here where she was. And this, not too much longer, is when I met my husband, my present husband, who I've been married to over 27 years. And he actually, uh, met Father Noel while we were living in Sri Lanka the past almost 5 years. And so we feel very grateful and blessed that, we were asked to do our testimony, and hopefully my husband will be able to do his pretty soon. So here I am in Alabama, and I'm very early in sobriety, only Well, actually, less than a year, like 9 months. And but I ended up meeting my husband in Alcoholics Anonymous, and just a beautiful, beautiful blessing from God. Um, and so then, going a little bit further into our marriage, he, was called for his overseas jobs of building American embassies. And so one of our first was going to Turkey. And that was, wonderful experience, it being mostly a Muslim country, but hearing the call to prayer just enhanced my Christianity. It just brought me closer. It was, I could tell of the Spirit of God, listening to the call to prayer. And but there was a little bit. Oh, before we went to Turkey, my husband and I, we got married in a Presbyterian church. And then we went on to a Methodist church, and we were members there for a little while. And I remember then that my mother had moved here to Alabama. She was in Ohio. That's the state where I was born is Ohio. But she had moved here in Alabama near us. And she was coming to the Methodist church. And she just said to me one day, "I have to go to the Catholic Church." And I wasn't happy about that at all, because I thought, oh, this is, one of the first times in my life that I can be with my mother, and we can share Christianity now. But she went on, and I had even mentioned in a Bible study class, I said, my mom, she's gone back to the Catholic Church, but my mom had told me the reason she was missing the sacraments. Um, so yeah, so that was significant to me. And so then my husband and I were in Turkey, and there was a friend, a Catholic friend, that came over to visit. And one night, he was talking to me. He says, "You ought to become Catholic." And I was arguing with him. Why do I need to become Catholic? I'm Christian. And so we came back from Turkey, and this friend again says, "Well, why don't you just take RCIA, which is Right Institute, Right Initiation of Adults, in Catholicism." I said, "All right." And well, I mean, here more and more blessings after my baptism. So I go to learn about the Catholic Church, and it is 7 months. I had to go and learn why they did what all they did. And in the meantime, I fall in love with Mother Mary, because here is where I find out, how, her immaculate conception and her purity and the love that, is just not even explainable. And, how for her to be able, to bring up, Jesus Christ, and have to endure these grave suffering. And so I just fell in love with her. And so, a little bit later, I was like, oh, I wish my husband would become Catholic. And we, well, I want to say a funny story, but I don't know if it's funny, but and we was actually just talking about it today. My mom had asked my husband, well, how'd you become Catholic? And, he's pointing to me, and I go, no, actually not me. It was nuns, because we had went to a marriage retreat. And this marriage retreat, um, uh, I was, I was upset that he said he didn't want to become Catholic, because to become Catholic, first of all, he was married before me, so he had to do an annulment, and he did do this annulment. Um, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. so we're at a marriage retreat, and we're doing our lesson, and there's this beautiful Jesus in front of us, and he wants to get up and take a picture, and I'm just so upset because I just think he's not really involved in this. He doesn't want to even do this marriage thing. He doesn't want to become Catholic. And I just cried and cried and cried in mass. I could not quit crying. And I think the nuns, because they were behind their, well, it was actually glass that they were behind, and I just think they knew, that I was just really upset. I think they prayed my husband into Catholicism, because after that he said he was going to become Catholic, and that was just wonderful. And um, let's see. And so he became Catholic, and well, I'm losing my train of thought here. But just miraculous things, happening in my husband and I's life. And like I said, we have traveled, many different countries. And so, we'd always make sure that we go to church no matter what country we're in. And even on vacations, we make sure to go to Mass, and we do the rosary together, as most often, and we do novenas together. Um, and we really love our faith, our Catholic faith, which of course is all Jesus, and Mother Mary, the Holy Family, and uh, honoring the saints and our guardian angels. It's just a beautiful life of being a Christian now. And so we just make sure um, that we are praying to do God's will, to be God's will. And I know there's much more I'd like to share. Um, well, yes, that I have had breast cancer, and I know that Jesus, helped to heal me. And along with St. Anne, Mother Mary's mother, I had prayed much to St. Anne, and I know that there's just intercession constantly. And then we just had, beautiful experiences in Sri Lanka. The devout Catholics that we saw there, and just helping our Christianity to grow more and more. The trust, trusting and trusting, um, the God, our God, and Jesus, and let's see. And now I actually have some health issues. I've got arsenic and lead poisoning, but I just have so much hope and trust, that I will be cared for. And then my dear husband, he has some health issues right now too, and so I'm asking for prayer. He has he needs to have a biopsy on his lungs, and we just lift gratitude and thanksgiving to Jesus, and for our lives right now. Um, and that's what we have to keep looking at, that we have life now, and that's what we need to enjoy. Um, and we're just so thankful and grateful, and thank you for listening to me, and I pray and hope for all goodness, and all Jesus blessings will pour upon us always, and for us to have our eternal life. And so we will be happy here and now and forever. God bless. Bye bye.